I'd like you to take a look at the back of my hoodie. Fitz magic. That's what the Bills have that the other NFL teams are lacking today. Ralph Wilson Stadium. We're taking on the Jets. Let's go. 6-2. Buffalo Bills. On to books. You guys don't really care about football. Although there are a couple cool Bills fans out there. Hey to you guys. Anyways, before we get started with the book review, I'd like to say I'm Dean Gornitis of Unleash This Book Reviews. If you've never been here before, thank you for showing up. And thank you to all you new guys who subscribed after Fantano liked my video. So welcome aboard. I know I don't have the same video quality as that that idol almost, but I'm doing what I can for you guys. So before we get going on the book review, I'd like to say here is the address. If I edited it correctly, this should be right under my fingers. That's the address to send your used books to. If you missed my video earlier in the week, I have this new project idea. Mail me a book that you love, that you really want me to read. And I will read it, and I will try to get to reviewing it. We'll see how many books I actually get. First person that mails me a book, I will mail them one of my books in return that I love. Next person that mails me a book, after I complete the first book that was sent to me, I will mail that one to that person. And so on and so forth. We'll keep, you send me a book, I'll send you the last one that I read in return, and we should have this really cool thing of a bunch of us having read each other's favorite books, And I think it's going to be awesome. The only thing I'm a little concerned about is getting too many books at once, but we'll see if that happens. That would be a good problem to have, and we'll figure that out if it happens. Anyway, on to the book review. This week I read Jean-Paul Sartre, believe that's how you pronounce his last name, his book Nausea, which is a, more of a philosophical type of book on existentialism, sort of the belief that we are all singular people going through the process of life by ourselves, and our free will and our decisions help dictate how our lives will go. In a nutshell, there's whole college courses committed to this theory, huge textbooks, libraries full of existential themed things, but that's the basic concept, and that's basically what Nausea is going after here. It's a work of fiction, so it kind of rests in between that literature and philosophical line, somewhere in there. But my thoughts, I'm going to be straight with you guys. Since I started this whole book review thing, this is the first time that I didn't complete the book that I was reviewing, and I'll tell you why. First of all, I started on Monday late, but that's not really the reason, because it's a shorter book and I easily could have finished it. What really happened is that it made me feel depressed, and I didn't want to keep reading it, because in general this week I've been in a good mood, and every time I picked it up, started reading it, it would bring me down. I got about 3/4 of the way through it. If the ending is something that I really need to know about, that's a shocker that really changes things, please let me know and I will finish it. But for the most part, what I took out of it was a book very similar to Albert Camus' The Stranger, but just not as gripping for me. With The Stranger, every word seemed important. I flew through that book. In Nausea, there are definite times where a paragraph or a sentence really hits home and you're like, wow, you stop for a second, you reread it 3 or 4 times. Wow. You're impressed on how Sartre is able to come up with something that you've always felt inside since you were born, but have never really been able to vocalize, or maybe never even really thought about it enough to want to vocalize it, sort of like a subconscious feeling inside that you've always felt about the world, that he's able to pen out, and it takes you back. A small example of this was, I believe, like one sentence he wrote that said something about how 3 p.m. is too late in the day to start anything that you wanted to do, but too early to do your nighttime activities and stuff like that. I thought that was great. I think it's pretty true. There was better, deeper stuff than that, but I can't remember it off the top of my head. But to me, there also seemed to be a lot more filler than what you'd get in something like The Stranger. And considering that they're both kind of approaching the same topic, the same idea, more or less, I'd have to recommend The Stranger to most people. And I wouldn't really tell them to get into Nausea unless they were a dedicated fan of the idea of existentialism. I just think The Stranger kind of wraps your head around it easier, gets to the point faster, and doesn't have as much fluff. There was a lot of stuff in Nausea here where the main character just kind of is like witnessing people marching down the street, or just talking about the self-taught man as somebody that he knows who's just sitting in a library reading books and stuff. And it just didn't seem like it was that important to me. And what surprised me is when you read about this book online or on the back cover or stuff like that, people say that this was his best work ever. And I'm just not convinced of that, because I know this was one of the first novels he ever wrote, and I can see a lot of promise, and I just don't see how later on his stuff wasn't able to be a little bit more concise, to the point, and impactful. So I'm not at all writing off the author. I'd like to check out some more of his stuff. I know he has a short story collection that I'd like to check out. I think it's called The Wall, maybe. But yeah, this one just, I don't know. I'd give it like a C, maybe a C+ if I was grading it on a school level. Yeah. Let me know if I made a mistake by not finishing it. Give me your thoughts if you've ever checked it out. Where did you read it? Did you have to read it for an English class? Did you have to read it for a philosophy class? Did you just pick it up on your own? Are there better philosophers out there? How do you think it compares to The Stranger, if you've read that? There you go. Book review on Sunday again. Who knows if I'll ever get it back to Saturdays. Dean Gornitis, Unleash This Reviews. It's football time. I gotta get downstairs. I'll see ya.